What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for January 4th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. We got a big show, so let's go ahead and get started right away. As always, let's start with the recap of the question of the day. I asked you, if it was up to you, how would you fix the Eagles for the playoffs? And I have to say, everybody was all over the board. We had some simple as give the ball to AJ. Simplify the game plan. A couple people said nothing. They're done. But in honor of the theme of the new year this week and everything, I'm choosing positivity, so I'm going to choose to ignore those ones. But I think the simplifying the game plan is an interesting one. Get back to the basics. And shout out to my cousin John, who came up with what I think was an interesting idea, is to just show them a video. And Nick Sirianni is very big with showing videos and using motivation. But John said, hey, show them some video footage of last year to remind them just how great they are. And I think that's key, especially in light of everything that went down yesterday. The fact that the Pro Bowl selections were announced, you have a ton of Pro Bowl players and alternates. They are still a good team. They're just, for some reason, it happens sometimes. They're just in a funk. Mental block where they just can't seem to get it together. And I think showing them, even if it's not last year's footage, show them some footage from this year, so it's all guys from this team. I think that's the winning idea. At this point, nothing is off the table, I don't think, because they're going to the playoffs. So you need to do something, whatever it's going to take to motivate them. If he has to give a flower pot speech again, I don't care. Let's get it done. But as always, thank you for participating in the question today. Be sure to get your voice heard, 267-495-8531. Text message or voicemail. Like, subscribe wherever you're at. Leave a comment wherever you are. But get your voice heard. You guys, this is starting to grow, and I love where this is going. So let's keep it up. 267-495-8531. And speaking of like and subscribe, I've seen some people on social media and podcasters and things like that talk about their subscribers and where they want to be and setting goals. And I looked at us, and on YouTube, I'm currently at 51 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Not bad for just kind of starting out and really like a grassroots campaign. But let's see if we can double that and get to 100. I don't think, I know there's more of you out there that are listening or watching. So just take 2 seconds, subscribe. Let's get up to 100. Let's see how quick we can get my subscribers up to 100, because obviously the more you likes, the more people that like and all of those things, the better the algorithm is, and that gets me more rotation, more plays, which in turn leads to more likes and subscribers, which in turn leads to me being able to maybe make some money and then grow this thing and really finally get a producer. I mentioned the other day, I'm working on, if you're watching on YouTube, working on tightening up my shots and everything like that. So every little bit helps. But seriously, let's get to 100. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Get it up. Spread the word. Tell somebody. Let them know. But let's see how quick we can get that up to 100. I know we can do it. I know there's at least 100 or at least 49 more of you out there listening that haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel, and let's get that up to 100. All right, Sixers. They are off until Friday against the Knicks. A lot of people are starting to talk about what the next moves are, and as Nick Nurse is tinkering with the rotation, and it's just amazing how deep they are. But more on them as we go. Flyers in action tonight against Columbus. Hopefully they can stop their schneid and get right in 2024. But obviously the big news today, and what we're going to talk about most of the show, is the Eagles news from yesterday. Quite a bit of it. Let's start with, I mentioned the Pro Bowlers, and DeAndre Swift, A.J. Brown, Hassan Reddick, Lane Johnson, Jason Kelsey, and Landon Dickerson all made the Pro Bowl, which goes back to what I said earlier. They are a good team. They have, 6 Pro Bowlers, and then they have a ton of guys that are alternates. Jalen Dallas, a couple more guys on the line, Slay. So they have talent. It's just they need something to put it together, and I'll get more into what I think might happen later on. But injury reports, it looks like they could be relatively healthy. Slay was a limited participant. Jordan Davis didn't practice, and neither did Devontae Smith. If I had to bet, I bet Devontae plays. Not sure what's up with Jordan Davis, but Hassan Reddick was just sick. I fully expect him to play on Sunday as well. Zach Cunningham and Avonte Maddox were limited participants, but this is the early injury report. Yesterday's practice was more of a walkthrough, so this is like almost projected. So we'll know more today and tomorrow heading into Sunday's game. But back to Jordan Davis, and I follow him, and I respect a lot of what he says. Brian Baldinger basically called him out and said he's out of shape, and he just can see it based on the film. And I mean, he had some pretty harsh words for him and just how he should be benched, and he needs to get it together and really focus on getting himself back, which, one, I don't necessarily disagree that everybody could put in more effort. But like I said, he was pretty harsh. But again, it's hard to argue with Baldy because of his knowledge and everything. So that's something I want to keep an eye on as we go through this next game and hopefully a deeper playoff run. But even into the offseason, what's going to happen there with Jordan Davis? Was he out of shape? Is he going to come out? Something like that. And maybe that's why his production, I chalked it up yesterday to being double teamed. Maybe it is he's out of shape. I don't know. But we'll get more on that as hopefully. I mean, I want to follow up on that today, but it's just Baldy's not usually one to call guys out that harshly as he did. And he was very, very blunt with you're out of shape. And he's basically alluded to the fact that he's causing some of the issues on defense. But the big news was the A.J. Brown interview finally, and obviously I have a lot to say. If you're watching on YouTube, I have my Mega John hoodie on supporting A.J. today, and just a lot to break down. I think my first big takeaway was the fact that he stuck up for Nick Sirianni and the coaching staff, and kind of changed what I was feeling about Nick Sirianni. I mean, he said in that Seattle game that everybody was on Nick, and Nick said, oh, well, we were trying to get a pass interference call. And AJ's like, no, that was on us. We modified the play or audibled out of the play. Improvised, I think is the word he used. And Nick Sirianni, rather than throwing the players under the bus, stepped up and took responsibilities, made himself look like a fool for us. And I think that, again, changes my perception of what is happening in that locker room and how the players view Sirianni, because I know one of the big stories this week was how or if he lost the team. And I think right there, the fact that he just let himself take the heat and look like an idiot, basically, for something that the players did, I think that goes a long way. And again, changes my perception a lot about what's going on there. AJ did apologize for not speaking for 2 weeks and having apologized to his teammates, I should say, for having to speak on his behalf, and basically said, I'm a man and I can take care of myself or speak for myself. And I think of the whole thing, that's the only issue I have. And I'm from the camp where I know a lot of people disagree with me on this, but I don't think the players have a duty to speak or owe us anything. I mean, it's for our entertainment. I know there's a lot of guys that'll disagree because of gambling and fantasy football and things like that, and just keeping the news portion of the game. But at the end of the day, I don't feel it's for entertainment. So they don't owe us anything. However, I think where AJ went wrong in this is the fact that it festered for so long and people were starting to jump to conclusions. Marcus Hayes has his quote-unquote anonymous source. More on him in a minute. But I think had he just addressed it and handled it head on 2 weeks ago, maybe we wouldn't have been in that situation. I respect where he was coming from, though. He said he didn't want to just breed the negativity. He said, yes, it sucked. We're all feeling it. He didn't want to be negative on top of the negativity because obviously, I've said it 1,000 times, negativity breeds just like positivity. And I think we're seeing it kind of snowball now. And for A.J. Brown to come out and just express how frustrated he was, maybe he knew he wasn't going to be able to say it in a way that was productive. I get it. And I mean, I respect that. However, I do think there probably would have been a way, maybe not after the game, but during the week, maybe like he did this week, speak to it and express that. That to me is the only thing I would have wished he would have handled differently, because then it turned into this story where everybody's speculating on what he's thinking, and Marcus Hayes is saying there's a divide in the locker room and things like this. And since I've brought him up, I'll come back to some of the A.J. Brown stuff. But he called out Marcus Hayes directly. He was like, I'm glad he's not here. Where's he at? This, that, or the other. And I kind of agree. I'm not a huge Marcus, or I shouldn't even say not a huge. I hate him. I think he's an idiot. I don't respect him or anything he does. I feel like stories like this and things like this are things that he has done consistently. And again, if this hurts any chances I might have of working, not that I'd want to work with him, but I mean, I really don't care. Like, I just feel like there's always something he's trying to. He's one of those guys that puts himself into the story or is trying to get out there. And part of this, yes, was on AJ for not addressing it sooner. But come on, man. Like, it does to me. Like, people are trying to make this out to be like a TO situation, and the fact that there's been nothing in the 2 years or so that AJ's been here that has led me to believe he's anything like T.O. If anything, he's the complete opposite. Yes, he's a receiver, so he's going to have some of that diva-esque mentality where he said, he was like, if you throw the ball to me 105 times, I'm going to want it 106. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but to paint him in a broad stroke like that, like a T.O., I think was unfair. And for Marcus Hayes to sort of fan those flames is just, it's ridiculous. And it plays right into the narrative. Like, you're not part of the story. You're not on the team. You're there to cover them. And I mean, to like, it's one thing for a guy like me who has a podcast that's not paid by like a major media corporation to maybe go out and say some outrageous things. But for somebody who's like has access to the locker room, to really say something like that, and like, I want to know more about this. Who was your source? Was it one? Was it multiple? And I mean, I don't know. Something just doesn't add up, which unfortunately a lot of times with Marcus Hayes stories is the case. And I mean, I'm sorry. And like, I'm not calling out anybody's integrity. Like, I don't know him personally or anything like that. But it seems like a pattern with him. Certain guys just always seem to get the story wrong or kind of put themselves into the story and make them the story. And all of a sudden now he's going to be probably tweeting today, and I'm anxious to see I didn't get a chance to see if he had a column today to see what he wrote. But like, it's just ridiculous. And I don't know. And again, it's just, if it was a one-time thing, I'd be like, okay. But it seems like whenever Marcus Hayes says something like this, there's always an other side to the story that he either leaves out or he's making shit up or whatever it is. And it's, I don't know. And it just, again, like, you got to be better than that. You have to be more responsible. And then to not even show up I saw him tweet like, well, I'm supposed to rearrange, or somebody said he's supposed to rearrange his schedule because AJ decided he wanted to speak. And it's not so much rearranging your schedule, but you're the cause of this. Like, you knew he was going to speak today. Be there. Man up. Be a man. And I think the fact that he wasn't there shows me a lot about his character, and it is what it is. If you like Marcus Hayes, I apologize. It's just my opinion. I've always felt that way going back to the Daily News live shows that he used to do. Just not a fan, and I feel like this is a consistent thing with him where there's always an issue. But it doesn't come off to me that A.J. Brown is anything TOS, and that is why I'm wearing my Mega John shirt to show my support for A.J. Brown. Down with Marcus Hayes, up with A.J. Brown. But more on A.J. Brown. He said he wasn't upset at the play call, the screen. He was more upset that Devontae got hurt, which I think we all are. But I mean, okay, I don't necessarily believe you, AJ, because I think every single person in Philadelphia, every single person in the Link, every person watching that game, whether they're even a fan, they were kind of like, what is this play call? So it's okay. You're trying to protect your coach a little bit there, but come on, man. We were all pissed off at that play call and wondering what he was going to do. And yes, I agree. On top of the icing on the cake was the fact that Devontae rolled up his ankle. And the last thing he said, I think, was good too. I mean, why was he singled out? And that's a question for Marcus Hayes, who, if he was there, hopefully somebody would have asked. And I would love to know why A.J. Brown was the one that was singled out when obviously Jason Kelce was frustrated. Is it because A.J. Brown didn't talk? I think every single one of those players, to a man, is and should be frustrated. With the exception of Slay, who's probably worried about his own stats, but that's another story. I mean, I think all the fans, everybody in Philadelphia is frustrated with what's going on. Why single out AJ? And that's my question to Marcus Hayes. Why AJ? I don't know. But I'm glad he spoke. I have a newfound respect for Nick Sirianni. I have a very much fond respect now for AJ Brown. I respect where he was going with it, trying to not say something stupid in the heat of the moment. But, I mean, after a day or two, you cool down. You could address the media like you did today. Hopefully, moving forward, that's something he does. But huge A.J. Brown fan. Congrats on the Pro Bowl. What does this all mean? I have no idea. It'd be great to say this is a new beginning. Things are going to galvanize. As I was going to the gym today, I forget the guy's name who does the overnights on WIP, was saying, he was like, well, what changed? He said, the only thing now is we know what kind of person A.J. Brown is. The players already knew that he was a stand-up guy or whatever. So what really is changing? They're still having the process. And I do get that. And I don't know. Maybe I'm drinking the Kelly Green Kool-Aid. I don't know. But I respect A.J. Brown for what he did. I take back some of the things I was thinking. I didn't say them, but thinking about Nick Sirianni. And again, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, but I think something like this, like you always say, you got to hit rock bottom before you can get back up. And I'm listening to Mike the Situation's book right now, so it's probably a situation quote. But like once I feel like last week was rock bottom for this team. I think AJ coming out and speaking yesterday is sort of the step back to where they're going to go. Because don't forget, this is a good team. There's talent on this team. They're just not clicking. They're just not executing. And I mean, I think that's coaching and players. Everybody takes a piece of the blame for this. But I don't necessarily think that all is lost. And I'm choosing positivity. Maybe they're going to come together on this. They're the 5 seed. Probably it could be the most dangerous 5 seed in the history of the NFL. So we'll see what happens. I mean, nobody is. I mean, we've seen the Niners get dominated. We've seen the Cowboys get dominated, and the saying goes, any given Sunday. So I want to see how they come out on Sunday first before I start getting into playoff things. But something tells me this team is going to come out. They're going to be more together. And very close. I was listening to Brandon Graham the other night. He said they were doing some things as a team bonding activity. They were doing some like escape room things and things like that. So hopefully this is the step up. We hit rock bottom, and now we're getting back to our baseline and where we need to be. Not a lot of time to turn it around. However, I've seen crazier things happen. All of that leads us to today's question of the day, though. What is your take? Does the A.J. Brown, hearing him speak yesterday, does it change your opinion on the season? Does it change the way things are going to go? Let me know, 267-495-8531. Voicemail, text message. Let me know your thoughts on the whole A.J. Brown thing. But the question of the day is, does this change the outlook for the Eagles season? Let me know, 267-495-8531. If it does change the outlook of the season, if it doesn't, one thing you can do is go to Philly Goat. I'm wearing this awesome Mega John hoodie. You can get it a t-shirt, any color you want. Go show your support for AJ Brown, phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. They have other things besides the Mega John, but let's get Mega John going. This is Mega John Day. Let's show AJ Brown we love him. Go show your support by buying a Mega John hoodie from Philly Goat. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. All right, today we're going to go back to 1997. And on this day in 1997, the Flyers were playing the last game of a 6-game road trip. Fell behind early to the Avalanche, 4-1, early in the second period, I should say. And future Flyer player, broadcaster, and president of hockey operations Keith Jones kind of buried the Flyers with 2 goals in the first period. But the Flyers battled back in a very entertaining game. Trent Klatt and Mikhail Renberg scored 2 minutes and 11 seconds apart in the third period to tie the game up. The Flyers were able to hold on and skate away with a 4-4 tie. Lindros had a goal and an assist. And why am I telling you about a random exciting tie in January? Well, this extended the Flyers' unbeaten streak that season to 16 games. They would make it to 17 before they finally lost. We know the club record is 35, which happens to also be the North American record. But that team got hot and went to the Stanley Cup finals before getting swept by the Detroit Red Wings. I'll get it out. 4-0. But on this day, it was an exciting 4-4 tie in Colorado as the Flyers battled back from a 4-1 deficit. Mikhail Renberg and Trent Klatt scoring 2 minutes and 11 seconds apart in the third period to tie it up, and then holding on to get the points and extend that unbeaten streak. All right, today's Philly free agent who had a fresh start in Philly. Going to stick with the Eagles, and another receiver who had some questionable issues with the media, and that is Alshon Jeffery. He signed a 1-year, $14 million contract in 2017 after 5 years in Chicago. In 2017, he did play all 16 games for the Eagles, and that was the first time he did that in his career since 2014. And I believe only one of 2 times he did it his entire career. His 57 catches and 780 yards were not career highs. He had 9 touchdowns, again, not a career high. But the big story that season for Alshon was just how he stepped up in the postseason. He had 4 catches for 61 yards in the divisional round, which the offense was just a little that game. But he really broke out in the NFC Championship game. 5 catches, 85 yards, and 2 touchdowns. And then only 3 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown in the Super Bowl. Scored the very first touchdown. That nice little... Love that play to this day. He would play 3 more years in Philly, but the injuries mounted up before he retired. Obviously, I was questioned whether to put him on this list because of the start, but I put him on even though his best statistical years were in Chicago. He played in 2 deep playoff runs for the Eagles since he was here, never made the playoffs in Chicago. So you remember the next year, they went to Chicago and won because of the double doink, and then they went down to New Orleans, who unfortunately Alshon was a part on the play that ended that season where he just missed the play. A lot of people will still say the Eagles would have beaten the Saints and gone to the Super Bowl. I'm not in that camp. I don't know. But I put Alshon as our free agent who had a fresh start in Philly because of how great he was that 2017 season. While it wasn't his best statistically, he was big, and we would not have been able to go on that Super Bowl run without him coming up clutch in the playoffs. So Alshon Jeffery, 5 years in Chicago, came to Philly and won a Super Bowl. That is our Philly free agent who had a fresh start in Philadelphia. On this day back in 1997, Flyers tied the Avalanche 4-1 after being down 4-1 to extend their unbeaten streak to 16 games. Be sure to let me know what you think about A.J. Brown. Does what he said and him coming out, does it change the trajectory of this season and how you're feeling about it? 267-495-8531. Let me know also, am I being too tough on Marcus Hayes? I don't think I am, and quite frankly, I'm going to continue to be tough on him because I just don't like him. But more on the Eagles as we get closer to the game day. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Let's get my subscribers up over 100. Told you it was a big show. Go have yourselves a Thursday. Enjoy the weather before the snow/rain comes in this weekend. This has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery, and until next time, I'll see you when I see you.